Hi, this is Gene McKenna, Director of ACE In-Home Tutoring based in Fairfield, Connecticut, and on the web at inhometutoring.com. I'd like to congratulate you on your decision to purchase this Vocabulary Booster series. It's a fast, easy, and effective way to improve your vocabulary. Just listen to this in your car stereo or Walkman during your free time, and I guarantee that you'll make great strides in building your vocabulary. Take it from me, because when it comes to vocabulary building, I really do know what I'm talking about. A little bit about my background here. I'm a graduate of Georgetown University, where I majored in English. I'm also a state-certified teacher with a master's degree in education. For good measure, I scored a perfect 800 on the verbal section of the SAT. A very large chunk of my life has gone into the study of English, and now I'm offering to share this hard-earned knowledge with you. While building your vocabulary is obviously an important step in helping you do better on the SAT or any other standardized test, it can also help you in the classroom, on the job, and even with your social life. A stronger vocabulary gives you a greater understanding of both the written and spoken language. There's no need to go around sounding like a walking dictionary, but having a way with words can give you a subtle edge in many of life's daily challenges. If you listen to this for just 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll find that your vocabulary will really start to grow. I'll present you with many key words that have often come up on the SAT in the past and caused problems for students. Most of these words are very likely to appear on the future SATs. For each vocabulary word, I'll give you a basic definition, comment on whether it's a noun, verb, or adjective, and then I'll give you a short sentence using the word in context. Often, these sentences will contain some sort of rhyme or play on words as a memory aid. Sometimes I'll comment on how the word is broken down by root, prefix, or suffix. In certain cases, I'll also remark on a word's spelling, pronunciation, or usage if I think that this may be a particular area of concern. Some people will remember these definitions and sentences after listening to the series just once. Most people, however, would benefit by listening to this in its entirety at least several times. Remember, practice makes perfect. Well, that pretty much wraps up the introductory remarks. Let's get started. Good luck. Abash. Abash. It's a verb, and it means to make bashful or embarrassed. A bashful person is easily abashed. Aboriginal. Aboriginal. It's an adjective, and it simply means original. The Aboriginal people of Australia are known as Aborigines. Abridge. Abridge. It's a verb that means to shorten something, especially a literary or artistic work. A bridge can abridge the distance between 2 points. By the way, the word unabridged means unshortened, and if you look closely at a big dictionary, it will probably say the unabridged dictionary. Abstain. Abstain. It's a verb that means to hold back from, to refuse to participate in. Abby did not want to stain her new shoes, so she abstained from running through the muddy field. Acrimonious. Acrimonious. It's an adjective, and it means bitter or vengeful. A criminal made an acrimonious attack on the judge who had sentenced him to a lengthy prison term. Acrid. Acrid. It's an adjective meaning bitter or pungent. Acid often has an acrid odor. Acute. Acute. It's an adjective meaning sharp or perceptive. Because pigeons have a very accurate sense of direction, we can say their sense of direction is acute. Adept, adept. It's an adjective meaning skillful. Chameleons are adept at adapting to their surroundings. Adhere, adhere. It's a verb meaning to stick to. Adhesive tape will help a poster adhere to the wall. Adorn, adorn. It means to ornament or to decorate. She adorned the Christmas tree by adding ornaments to it. Adroit, adroit. It's an adjective meaning skillful or adept. People in Detroit are adroit at building cars. Adulation, adulation. It's a noun meaning admiration or adoration. Many young children look upon their parents with a certain amount of adulation. Aesthetic, aesthetic. It's an adjective and it means pertaining to a sense of beauty. Figure skating is both athletic and aesthetic. Affable, affable. It's an adjective and it means friendly, personable, easy to get along with. Affable people are able to laugh with you, not at you. Agrarian, agrarian. It's an adjective and it means having to do with agriculture. Many vegetarians are very interested in agrarian policy. Aloof, aloof. It's an adjective meaning shy, reserved, removed, or tending to remain apart. When I feel aloof, I go up alone to the roof. Altruistic, altruistic. It's an adjective meaning unselfish, generous, concerned about the well-being of others. Mrs. Gore thinks her husband Al is truly altruistic and deserves to be the president. Amend, amend. It's a verb meaning to change, revise, fix. If you want to mend a constitution, you must amend it with an amendment. Amiable, amiable. It's an adjective meaning friendly, personable. Amy is able to be friends with almost everyone because she is so amiable. When you look at that word, by the way, the beginning is A-M-I. That is the same as the French word ami, meaning friend, and you also see A-M-I in amigo, Spanish for friend. Allure, allure. It's a noun, and it means pull or attraction, and it also serves as a verb, meaning to pull or to attract. A fishing lure is designed to have a certain allure for fish. Amass, amass. To gather, accumulate. Arnold Schwarzenegger has amassed a mass of massive muscles. Ambidextrous, ambidextrous. It's an adjective and it means able to use both hands equally well. Dexter is ambidextrous and he can throw the ball either lefty or righty with great dexterity. By the way, dexter in Latin means hand. Ample, ample. It's an adjective meaning sufficient, enough, or more than enough. That large amplifier should provide ample sound for the concert tonight. Anarchy, anarchy. It's a noun meaning breakdown or lack of rule or government, chaos. If the monarchy ever falls in Britain, some wonder whether anarchy will result. Anathema, anathema. It's a noun meaning a curse, something hated. Asthma is regarded as anathema by aspiring athletes. Annul, annul. It's a verb meaning to cancel, to make void. To annul a marriage is to make it null and void. Anoint, anoint. It's a verb meaning to officially approve, consecrate. In the days of old, kings and queens were often anointed with a special ointment on their foreheads. Antagonist, antagonist. It's a noun meaning a person with determined opposition or hatred toward someone. The antagonist of a novel is usually a source of agony for the hero, who is known as the protagonist. Antiquated, antiquated. It's an adjective meaning old-fashioned or like an antique. All antiques are, by definition, antiquated. Appease, appease. It's a verb meaning to soothe, calm, or put at ease. An apple can appease an angry teacher. Apprise, apprise. It's a verb meaning to notify or inform. Publishers Clearinghouse will apprise you if you win a prize in their sweepstakes. Arduous, arduous. It's an adjective meaning hard, difficult, exhausting. A task that is arduous is hard for us. Ascertain, ascertain. It's a verb meaning to uncover and verify, to make certain. If a detective wants to be as certain as possible about a case, he must accurately ascertain what happened. Ascetic, ascetic. That's an adjective. I'll spell it. Spelled A-S-C-E-T-I-C. It means self-denying, devoted to simple and austere living. Many marathon runners are, by nature, both athletic and ascetic. Boorish, boorish. It's an adjective meaning offensive or rude. I believe that fans who do nothing but boo are boorish. Brazen, brazen. It's an adjective meaning brash or extremely bold. It would be very brazen of that raisin to try to pass for a prune. Brevity, brevity. It's a noun meaning shortness or the quality of being brief. When you abbreviate something, you give it brevity. Bucolic, bucolic. It's an adjective and it means of or pertaining to the countryside. Broccoli and cauliflower both grow well in bucolic settings. Bureaucracy, bureaucracy. It's a noun meaning a large institution with many complex regulations. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, is one of the largest bureaucracies in our democracy. By the way, a person who works for a bureaucracy would be known as a bureaucrat, and the adjective would be bureaucratic. Candor, candor. It's a noun meaning honesty or straight talk. Because that manager always speaks with candor, he can leave the door to his office open at all times. Cardinal, cardinal. It's an adjective meaning main or most important. Bird lovers believe that it would be a cardinal sin to shoot a cardinal. Celibate. Celibate. It's an adjective meaning pure or refraining from sexual intercourse. Those who wish to live a celibate life will likely never celebrate their day of marriage. Chagrin. Chagrin. It's a noun meaning shame or embarrassment. The Grinch's grin of satisfaction changed to one of chagrin when he realized that the people of Whoville still planned to celebrate Christmas despite his efforts to stop them. Chaste. Chaste. It's an adjective meaning pure. In the Middle Ages, European women often were forced to wear chastity belts to ensure that they remained chaste while their husbands were off at war. Clandestine. Clandestine. It's an adjective meaning secret or hidden. Scottish clans often met clandestinely to plan their destiny against their English foes. Comprise. Comprise. It's a verb meaning to consist of or include. The winners at the Olympics get prizes that are comprised of gold, silver, or bronze. Condescend. Condescend. It's a verb meaning to lower oneself. Connie, a true gourmet, would never condescend to eat at a fast food restaurant. Confidant. Confidant. It's a noun, and it means a person with whom one can share a secret. You can always confide in your confidant, who will surely keep matters confidential. Congenial. Congenial. It's an adjective meaning pleasant or friendly. Barbara Eden, in the classic TV sitcom I Dream of Jeannie, was a most congenial genie. Consecrate. Consecrate. To make sacred. It's a verb, by the way. It was a sacred day when the bishop consecrated the new cathedral. Contrite. Contrite. It's an adjective meaning apologetic, begging forgiveness. Those who are contrite about their sins often perform acts of contrition. Cosmopolitan. Cosmopolitan. It's an adjective meaning worldly, having wide interests. Many women who read Cosmopolitan magazine hope that they will become more cosmopolitan in their outlook on life. Coup. Coup. It's a noun, and I'll spell it. It's C-O-U-P with a silent P. It means a personal victory acquired in a single stroke or major accomplishment. The rooster considered it quite a coup when he managed to fly the coop. By the way, you'll often hear the phrase coup d'etat, which is used to mean a government that is taken over by force. Culpable. Culpable. It's an adjective meaning guilty. The culprit who robbed the bank is culpable of the crime. Deleterious. Deleterious. It's an adjective meaning harmful. Drinking enough coffee to make you delirious is probably deleterious to your health. Despondent. Despondent. It's an adjective meaning downhearted or dejected. The correspondent was despondent and in despair when the editor refused to run her story. Dirge. Dirge. It's a noun meaning music for a funeral procession. I get the urge to cry whenever I hear a dirge. Disclose. Disclose. It's a verb meaning to open, admit, or reveal. Because the chef did not want to disclose the recipe for his secret sauce, he kept his mouth closed on the subject. By the way, disclose is a term that's often used in legal proceedings, and if you look at it, dis is a negative prefix, and close is the root. So when you do not close something, you basically open it up. The noun, by the way, is disclosure. Dissident. Dissident. It's a noun, and it means one who opposes. Most dissidents tend to dissent from the official viewpoint. Distraught. Distraught. It's an adjective meaning overcome by grief or despair. The thief was distraught when he was caught. Dogmatic. Dogmatic. It's an adjective, and it means tending to hold very tightly to a belief or opinion. My dog is dogmatic in his refusal to let go of his bone. Ebb. Ebb. It's a verb meaning to lessen or recede. When Deb saw her latest report card sprinkled with D's, her spirit started to ebb. One note here. The phrase ebb tide means low tide. You'll also hear this word used in the phrase ebb and flow, which means a going up and down, a natural cycle. Eclectic. Eclectic. It's an adjective meaning diverse and wide-ranging in taste or choice. He likes to collect art of all different kinds, so his collection is quite eclectic. Eccentric. Eccentric. It's an adjective meaning odd, unusual, strange. One who displays eccentric behavior might be somewhat uncentered. Elegy. Elegy. It's a noun meaning poem or song expressing grief. The organist played a mournful yet elegant elegy at the funeral mass. Embargo. Embargo. It's a noun meaning a ban on commerce or trade. Because of the Cuban embargo, the cargo of rum could not get through. Embellish. Embellish. It's a verb meaning to decorate, to make more attractive or beautiful. Some people like to embellish their frankfurters with relish. By the way, the root of embellish is belle, which is French for beautiful. Eminent. Eminent. It's an adjective meaning well-known. Eminem has become an eminent rap star, seemingly overnight. Empathy. Empathy. It's a noun meaning the ability to identify with the feelings of another. Sympathy is usually a characteristic of those who have empathy. Enigma. Enigma. It's a noun meaning a puzzle or mystery. To Winston Churchill, the Soviet Union was an enigma whose behavior was very enigmatic. Enmity. Enmity. It's a noun meaning mutual hatred, intense dislike. Some people have only enmity for their enemies. Entail. Entail. It's a verb meaning to require, to be necessary. Winning at pin the tail on the donkey entails both concentration and luck. Epitome. Epitome. It's a noun, and I'll spell it. epitome. It means a perfect example of something. To me, Michael Jordan was the epitome of skill and grace on the basketball court. Erratic. Erratic. It's an adjective meaning unpredictable. Because Rick got either A's or F's on his tests, his teacher rated his performance as quite erratic. Erroneous. Erroneous. It's an adjective meaning incorrect or mistaken. An error is, by definition, erroneous. Esoteric. Esoteric. It's an adjective meaning hard to understand, known only to a select few. Eric did so terribly on the vocabulary section, mainly because it was filled with rather esoteric words. Eulogy. Eulogy. It's a noun meaning words of praise, especially those given at a funeral. It is usually the job of the clergy to give the eulogy at a funeral. By the way, the prefix of eulogy is eu, which eu in Greek means good, and the root is log, L-O-G, which means word, so eulogy is literally good words. Exacerbate. Exacerbate. It's a verb and it means to make worse. When a coach berates his player's performance after a tough loss, he often just exacerbates the situation. Expunge. Expunge. It's a verb and it means to remove or cancel. The waitress expunged the spilled milk with a sponge. By the way, this word will often be used in legal situations, and quite often when there is a juvenile offender, the judge will offer to expunge the juvenile's record if he or she stays out of trouble until the time that child becomes an adult. Extricate. Extricate. It's a verb and it means to remove, especially from a difficult position. One of Houdini's favorite tricks was to extricate himself from chains. By the way, when you see extricate, you can also think of extract, which also means to remove. Facade. Facade. It's a noun and it means face or superficial appearance. Even though the runner-up in the Miss America pageant tried to put a smile on her face, I knew it was just a facade. Fallacious. Fallacious. It's an adjective meaning false or misleading. Something that is fallacious is always false. Fallible. Fallible. It's an adjective and it means open to error. Those who are fallible are likely, at times, to have a fall. Fastidious. Fastidious. It's an adjective, and it means paying close attention to details. Fast Eddie is fastidious about keeping his car in tip-top shape. Fatalist. Fatalist. It's a noun, and it means one who believes that life is largely predetermined and shaped by fate. A fatalist believes more heavily in fate than in free will, and thus lives life in a fatalistic fashion. Feign. Feign. It's a verb, and let me spell that. Spelled F-E-I-G-N. Feign means to fake or pretend. Elaine feigned a pain in her stomach to get out of gym class. Fractious. Fractious. It's an adjective meaning tending to misbehave rowdy, unruly. Frank fractured several ribs in the fractious meeting with the rival gang. Frenetic, frenetic. It's an adjective meaning marked by frenzy. Frenzied energy is both frenetic and kinetic. Frugal, frugal. It's an adjective meaning interested in conserving money, thrifty, or economical. Fred, who was quite frugal, bought a second-hand bugle. By the way, frugal always has a positive connotation, whereas a word such as cheap or penny pincher would have a negative connotation. Garish, garish. It's an adjective meaning excessively bright or gaudy. Some guys cherish garish ties. Genial, genial. It's an adjective meaning cheerful, friendly, kind. The genial genie granted me 3 wishes. Hackneyed, hackneyed. It's an adjective meaning overused or unoriginal. A hack writer tends to use hackneyed phrases. Harbinger, harbinger. It's a noun and it means forerunner or something that comes before another. Many think of the robin as a bringer or harbinger of spring. Hedonist, hedonist. It's a noun and it means a person who pursues pleasure, often to excess. Hedonists only pay heed to their own desires. By the way, a hedonist would be somebody who believes in the phrase, if it feels good, do it. Impeccable, impeccable. It's an adjective meaning faultless or perfect. Bodybuilders are usually known for their impeccable pecs. Imperious, imperious. It's an adjective meaning arrogant, haughty, or like an emperor. Many emperors of imperial Rome were known for their imperious behavior. Implicit, implicit. It's an adjective meaning implied or not stated directly. Something that is implied is implicit, not explicit. Impudence, impudence. It's a noun meaning rudeness. After he hit me with his banana, I thought that chimp had a lot of impudence. Impunity, impunity. It's a noun meaning freedom from punishment. Because he had been granted immunity by the prosecutor, the cooperating witness gave the details of his life of crime with impunity. Inane, inane. It's an adjective meaning stupid, pointless, or kind of insane. Because he seemingly lacks a brain, most of the things that man says are both insane and inane. Indigent, indigent. It's an adjective meaning poor. That poor gent is very indigent. Innate, innate. It's an adjective meaning natural or inborn. It is a fact of nature that birds are born with an innate ability to fly. By the way, the root of that word is nate, meaning birth. Think of native, prenatal care, nativity, etc. And in this case, simply means in. Indolent, indolent. It's an adjective meaning lazy. John decided that for Lent, he would give up being indolent. Infamous. Infamous. It's an adjective meaning famous for bad deeds, notorious. December 7th, 1941, the day of the infamous attack on Pearl Harbor, is a day that will, according to Franklin D. Roosevelt, live in infamy. Insipid. Insipid. It's an adjective meaning dull or boring. Juan Valdez will not sip insipid coffee. Insurgent. Insurgent. It's a noun and also an adjective meaning rebel or rebellious. The insurgents surged toward the capital in an attempt to overthrow it. Insurrection. Insurrection. It's a noun meaning rebellion or uprising. After the fraudulent election, there was a general insurrection by the population. Integral. Integral. It's an adjective meaning essential or necessary. Integrity is an integral quality of a good leader. Just a note here, oftentimes this word will be pronounced integral. Introspective. Introspective. It's an adjective meaning looking inward. Most introverts are quite introspective. By the way, the root of the word is spect. Anytime you see spect, that means something to do with looking. And the prefix is intro, which means within. So literally, introspective means looking within. Jaded. Jaded. It's an adjective meaning world-weary or suffering from an excess of luxury. Some of the ancient emperors of China, whose palaces were filled with precious jade, probably became quite jaded. Judicious. Judicious. It's an adjective meaning wise or marked by good judgment. The judicial branch of our government is run by judicious judges. Lucid. Lucid. It's an adjective meaning clear. Lucy wrote lucid prose while sitting at a translucent glass table. Ludicrous. Ludicrous. It's an adjective meaning laughable. Lou's latest problem is both ridiculous and ludicrous. Magnanimous. Magnanimous. It's an adjective meaning great in spirit, extremely generous. Andrew Carnegie had a magnificent career and a magnanimous spirit. By the way, a note about the breakdown of this word. Magna means big, and anim means spirit. Also, anytime you see a word that ends with O-U-S, I, O-U-S, E-O-U-S, any words like those are always adjectives. So, if you notice an adjective ending, don't worry about it. Just realize it's an adjective and focus on the root and or the prefix. Magnate. Magnate. It's a noun meaning a person of power or influence. Max started a magnet company and, through hard work, eventually became a magnet magnate. Once again, the root of this word is magna, meaning big, so think of big shot for magnate. Malevolent. Malevolent. It's an adjective meaning evil. Because he was a very maladjusted and malicious man, the Joker became one of Batman's most malevolent enemies. Another comment, Any word that begins with mal usually means something bad. Melancholy. Melancholy. It's an adjective and also a noun, meaning sad or sadness, depressed or depression. When his melons and cauliflower were killed by an early frost, the farmer became quite melancholy. Mercenary. Mercenary. It's an adjective, and it means pertaining to acquiring money, motivated by financial gain. Most merchants are quite mercenary. Mercurial. Mercurial. It's an adjective, and it means rapidly shifting. Just as the mercury in a thermometer rises quickly or falls due to changes in temperature, so too do some people have emotions that are quite mercurial. Misanthrope. Misanthrope. It's a noun, meaning a person who hates people or hates humanity in general. An anthropologist who is also a misanthrope could perhaps be called a misanthropologist. By the way, the root of that word is anthrope, and that means man. Morbid. Morbid. It's an adjective, and it means pertaining to death. It is hard to resist morbid thoughts when walking through a mortuary. Mundane. Mundane. It's an adjective meaning dull, boring, commonplace. Most people find Monday to be a very mundane day. Muse. Muse. It's a verb and a noun, and it means to ponder or inspiration. A museum provides a good place to muse about art. Narcissist. Narcissist. It's a noun meaning one who is extremely self-centered and in love with oneself. According to the Greek myth of Echo and Narcissus, Narcissus, who fell in love with his own reflection in a pond and was then turned into a flower, can be said to be the first true narcissist. Nemesis. Nemesis. It means enemy or foe. Eminem is considered a nemesis by most folk singers. Notoriety. Notoriety. It's a noun, and it means being famous for a bad reason. The notorious LA riots of the early 1990s have gone down in notoriety. By the way, a lot of people today tend to use the word notoriety to have the same meaning as notability, so you will often hear it used in a positive context, though traditionally that's not really considered correct. On any standardized test such as the SAT, you should be aware that the test makers will be looking for the standard conservative definition. So notoriety on any test is always going to have a negative connotation. Nuance. Nuance. It's a noun, and it means a subtle or slight difference or variation. Andy was very interested in ants, and he could distinguish between the old ants and the new ants in his ant farm based on various nuances in their shapes and actions. Oblivious. Oblivious. It's an adjective meaning unaware. Because Bob sleeps on the job, it is obvious that he is oblivious to his responsibilities. Obsolete. Obsolete. It's an adjective meaning out of date, no longer useful. Because my costly new work boots have extremely durable soles, I believe that they will never become obsolete. Omnipotent. Omnipotent. It's an adjective meaning all-powerful. Because the great white shark is more potent than any other shark, it can be considered omnipotent among sharks. By the way, let's break down this word. Potent is the root, and omni is Latin meaning all. So omnipotent means all-powerful. Omniscient. Omniscient. It's an adjective meaning all-knowing. The Wizard of Oz liked to consider himself both omniscient and omnipotent. Omnivorous. Omnivorous. It means eating everything. While a lion is carnivorous and an antelope is herbivorous, a bear, like a human being, is omnivorous. Ornate. Ornate. It's an adjective and it means highly decorated. Most ornaments are naturally ornate. Orthodox. Orthodox. It's an adjective meaning traditional or very conservative. Because Don was a very orthodox orthodontist, he generally recommended braces for people who wanted to straighten their teeth. Ostentatious. Ostentatious. It's an adjective meaning showy. Some Arab sheiks used to live in large, colorful tents that were very ostentatious. Ostracize. Ostracize. It's a verb, and it means to shun, to cut out from the group, or to give the cold shoulder to somebody. Because Oswald the ostrich decided to date a stork, some of the other ostriches decided to ostracize him from their group. Overt. Overt. It's an adjective meaning open. The CIA tends to specialize in covert missions, not overt ones. Palpable. Palpable. It's an adjective meaning able to be touched or tangible. I know that my heart is palpable as I can detect its palpitations. My soul, however, is impalpable. Paragon. Paragon. It's a noun meaning model of perfection. Paris is a paragon of a city. Pastoral. Pastoral. It's an adjective meaning of the countryside or pertaining to a pastor. The pastor at the church in New York City was transferred to a more pastoral setting in Vermont. Pathological. Pathological. It's an adjective and it means pertaining to disease. Sociopaths and psychopaths both suffer from pathological disorders. By the way, if somebody tends to lie all the time, they might be considered a pathological liar. Perspicacious. Perspicacious. It's an adjective meaning having keen insight. Someone with a very keen perspective on matters can be considered perspicacious. Pertinent. Pertinent. It's an adjective meaning apt, suitable, or related to the point at hand. Percy is known for his pertinent remarks on just about any subject. Pinnacle. Pinnacle. It's a noun, and it means the highest point. For most bowlers, getting a strike and knocking down all 10 pins is the pinnacle of success. Pious. Pious. It's an adjective meaning holy, or venerable, or pure. Because he gave a pie to us when we were starving, we considered him to be a very pious man. The antonym of pious, by the way, which is quite common, is impious. Pithy, pithy. It's an adjective meaning short, concise, to the point. Pete Smith is a rather pithy name. Placate, placate. It's a verb meaning to calm, soothe, or pacify. After I broke her favorite plate, it was very difficult to placate Kate. Plausible, plausible. It's an adjective and it means believable. Although I didn't go to the concert myself, it is extremely plausible that Carlos Santana received a lot of applause at the end of his guitar solo. Pragmatic, pragmatic. It's an adjective meaning practical or sensible. Most people think it is both more practical and pragmatic to drive an automatic car. Precarious, precarious. It's an adjective meaning difficult, unsafe, potentially troublesome. Carey used great care to get out of the precarious situation. Pretentious, pretentious. It's an adjective and it means acting in a superior or conceited manner. Pretentious people like to pretend that they are better than everyone else. Pristine, pristine. It's an adjective meaning beautiful or unspoiled. Christine loves to hike in pristine regions of the Rockies. Proliferation, proliferation. It's a noun meaning abundance. There is always a proliferation of life in the spring. Prophetic, prophetic. It's an adjective meaning of or pertaining to a prophet, able to foresee the future. In the Old Testament, the prophet Jeremiah issued many dark and prophetic warnings to his people. Proponent, proponent. It's a noun meaning a supporter or someone who is in favor of something. Al Gore, who proposed tougher gun laws, is a proponent of gun control and therefore an opponent of the NRA. Propriety, propriety. It's a noun meaning moral correctness. People who are concerned with propriety always try to do the proper thing, the appropriate thing, lest they be accused of impropriety. Prosaic, prosaic. It's an adjective meaning dull, unimaginative, boring. Renaissance poets considered it rather prosaic to write a love letter in prose. For them, only verse was suitable in such matters. Prowess, prowess. It's a noun meaning skill or strength. A pro golfer like Tiger Woods can wow us with his prowess and power. Pundit, pundit. It's a noun meaning a learned person, a scholar, a wise man. George W. Bush wanted to punch the pundit who, in writing his newspaper column, punned that Bush was merely a Bush League politician. By the way, although being a scholar or a wise person is very positive, whenever the word pundit is used, it's often used with a negative connotation, perhaps to refer to somebody who is perhaps too smart for his own good, or perhaps simply considered extremely smart without truly being that way. Quandary. Quandary. It's a noun, and it means a state of uncertainty, a dilemma. John is in a quandary over his laundry, and he would really like to know why he is always missing a sock at the end of the cycle. Quintessential. Quintessential. It's an adjective meaning having the pure essence of something. Because Cindy Crawford has all the essentials for being a supermodel, she could be called a quintessential supermodel. Quixotic. Quixotic. It's an adjective, and it means pertaining to Don Quixote, or idealistic in a doomed and impractical way. Don Quixote, who gave his name to this word, was the original quixotic adventurer. By the way, I'll spell that one for you. It is spelled Quixotic. Raise. Raise. It's a verb, and it means to knock down, destroy, or level. The spelling, by the way, is R-A-Z-E. It is possible to raise a wooden building with a blaze. For you guys out there, you might want to realize that raise is the root word of the word razor. Rebuttal. Rebuttal. It's a noun meaning a formal response in an argument or debate. The defense attorney got ready to butt heads with the prosecutor by preparing a rebuttal. Recluse. A recluse. It's a noun, and it means a person who shuns society, a hermit. A recluse closes himself off from the world. By the way, the root of recluse is cluse, which means to close. So if you're a recluse, you kind of close yourself off from everybody. Redundant. Redundant. It's an adjective, and it means extra or unnecessary. If you have done something already, it would be redundant to redo it. Refute. Refute. It's a verb, and it means to dispute or to argue. To refute a call by the referee is usually futile and useless. Regal. Regal. It's an adjective, and it means royal. The makers of Chivas Regal, whose symbol is a crown, believe it is a drink fit for a member of the royal family. Reiterate. Reiterate. It's a verb, and it means to repeat. Because I didn't hear it clearly the first time, the front desk clerk reiterated the rate for a night's lodging at the hotel. Reminisce. Reminisce. It's a verb, and it means to think over and discuss the past. Because many people miss the good old days, they like to reminisce about them with their friends. Renown. Renown. It's a noun meaning fame. Ronald McDonald is a clown of great renown. Requisite. Requisite. It's an adjective meaning required. Something that is requested and required is, by definition, requisite. Resplendent. Resplendent. It's an adjective, and it means glorious, radiant, beautiful. A peacock's tail is both splendid and resplendent. Reticent, reticent. It's an adjective meaning quiet. A person who is shy, retiring, and disinclined to put in his or her 2 cents on a topic could be considered reticent. Retribution, retribution. It's a noun meaning revenge or punishment. When the Gallic tribes refused to pay tribute to their emperor, the Romans sacked and destroyed their villages in retribution. By the way, to break down this word, tribute means pay, and in this case, means back, so retribution literally is payback. Retroactive, retroactive. It's an adjective meaning active to a point in the past. The popular retro fashions of today are, by definition, retroactive. Reverence, reverence. It means respect or admiration. Americans tend to revere Paul Revere and his midnight ride with due reverence. Rue, rue. It's a verb, and it means to regret. Ruth rued the day that her man went away. By the way, the adjective is rueful. Rustic, rustic. It's an adjective meaning of or pertaining to the countryside. The rusty old car in the front yard marred the otherwise picture-perfect rustic scene. Sagacious, sagacious. It's an adjective meaning sage-like or wise. A sagacious chef might use a dash of sage to spice up a dish. Sacrilegious, sacrilegious. It's an adjective meaning unholy or profane. Because the Spanish viewed the religious sites of the Aztecs as both pagan and sacrilegious, they decided to raze them and build churches in their place. Just a quick note here, this word is often confused with its opposite. A lot of people look at sacrilegious and they see sacred and they see religious and they think, oh, it must mean very sacred or holy. Strangely enough, it has the opposite meaning. So remember that sacrilegious means unholy. Sacrosanct, sacrosanct. It's an adjective meaning sacred or holy. The cathedral at Lourdes in France is regarded by many Catholics as a sacred and sacrosanct sanctuary. So for this word sacrosanct, you can easily see how it breaks down into sacred and sanct, meaning safe or sanctuary. Scrupulous, scrupulous. It's an adjective meaning attentive to details, honest in dealings, conscientious. The carpenter was scrupulous about screwing in each screw very tightly. Servile, servile. It's an adjective meaning like a servant, submissive. Some servants are quite servile. Skeptical, skeptical. It's an adjective and it means tending to doubt. A skeptic is a skeptical person who indulges in skepticism. Sporadic, sporadic. It's an adjective and it means occurring at irregular intervals. Because Sam's effort at school is only sporadic, his grades tend to be erratic. Stoic, stoic. It's an adjective and it means impassive, unmoved by extremes of emotion. If you stow your emotions deep inside of you and always remain outwardly calm, you are, by definition, stoic. Subjugate, subjugate. It's a verb, and it means to dominate or put under control. The monarchs of medieval Europe, bolstered by the concept of the divine right of kings, tended to subjugate their subjects. Sublime, sublime. It's an adjective, and it means supreme or perfect. The key lime pie at the Key West Diner is close to sublime. Succinct, succinct. It's an adjective meaning concise, terse, pithy. Lincoln's Gettysburg Address is both distinct and succinct. Superficial, superficial. It's an adjective, and it means on the surface, lacking depth. After his battle with Lex Luthor, Superman was not seriously wounded, but merely had some superficial wounds on his face. By the way, to break this word down, super means above, and official means face. Tangible, tangible. It's an adjective, meaning able to be touched, solid. A tangerine is tangible, whereas a dream is intangible. Terse, terse. It's an adjective meaning short, to the point, succinct. A Japanese haiku is actually a very terse verse. Transient, transient. It's an adjective, and it means fleeting or transitory. Transient people are often in transit from one place to another. By the way, the prefix or root of this word is trans, which literally means across. However, often when trans is used in a word, it has some sort of idea of motion or movement. Trepidation, trepidation. It's a noun meaning fear. Intrepid people lack trepidation. Unruly, unruly. It's an adjective, and it means disobedient, not following the rules. Some parents often enact tough rules in order to better control their unruly children. Vicarious, vicarious. It's an adjective, and it means experienced in an indirect or second-hand way. Novels and movies carry us to vicarious adventures. Virtuoso, virtuoso. It's a noun, and it means a skilled expert, often one in the arts. By virtue of his skill on the basketball court, Michael Jordan is considered a virtuoso of the game. The root of virtuoso, by the way, is virtue. Wily, wily. It's an adjective spelled W-I-L-Y. It means tricky, clever, or cunning. Wile E. Coyote is the apt name of the Wile E. Coyote in the Roadrunner cartoon series. Zeal, zeal. It's a noun meaning enthusiasm or zest. I saw a seal perform with zeal at SeaWorld. Zenith, zenith. It's a noun, and it means the highest point or peak. The profitability of television manufacturer Zenith Corporation reached its zenith in the 1960s, after which point it began to suffer from foreign competition. Well, there you have it. 200 of the most common SAT words from A to Z. I'm sure you're already well on your way to building a stronger vocabulary. You'll do even better if you listen to this series once again. If you have any comments or feedback for me, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me at my website, which is located at inhometutoring.com, or you can reach me on my phone, which is area code 203-366-0498. Well, that just about wraps it up. Take care, and good luck. I am Gene McKenna, Director of ACE In-Home Tutoring, signing out.